welcome to Sydney.
Oh, thank you very much.
Is this your first time to Sydney?
Second time.
Second time? Yeah, when were you here last?
I can't remember. It must have been 4 or 5 years ago, only for a few days, and it was sweltering hot, 44 degrees.
Oh my God, which is quite different.
Yeah. And this time it's been really beautiful with the weather. A bit rainy, but I'm used to it. I'm from Northern Europe pretty much, and it's been beautiful. This area here is amazing. We love Cronulla and Dorlands Bay, and I wish I could stay a bit longer.
And I've heard you haven't left this area yet.
No, I've pretty much been involved with cake baking since I came here, and it's very funny meeting Guy and Linda. They're so much like me and my husband, so we got on really well straight away. And for example, last night I was here till almost like 11 o'clock at midnight helping Linda finishing a cake, but it's pretty much what I would be doing if I was in London now. So not a big surprise there. It just feels normal to me.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. And so what have you enjoyed about Sydney?
I haven't been seeing very much from actually Sydney yet, but so far what I really love is the lifestyle over here. People are much more relaxed, I find. Very happy, of course, the sunshine, but also the outdoor life. In the morning, we got up at 7 o'clock. We were at the breakfast cafe down the beach, and it was buzzing. Everyone is outdoor, either surfing or walking their dogs or running. And life in London starts at about 9 o'clock. It's a bit different. And you try to spend not much time outside because it's usually cold and rainy, So it's a bit different. So I really like the sunshine and the outdoor life.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you wanted to move over here, you're pretty welcome.
Oh, thank you. My husband actually has got an Australian passport, so it could be an option one day. You never know.
So tell me about your background. So you were born in Germany.
Yes. I grew up in Germany, and my passion and love for cakes and baking comes from home. My mom always used to bake Christmas cookies with us, which is quite traditional. And buying cake from the local bakery for Sunday afternoon is a standard thing. It's just like afternoon tea in England, or I don't know what you guys do, barbecue on the beach probably.
So you would have cake every Sunday?
Yeah, pretty much. And so I started baking myself when I was 14 years old, and I got hooked pretty quickly. I was researching options to develop this as a career, but there was just a traditional conditor apprenticeship, which is like a patisserie chef, and it would have been very lengthy, very badly paid, and it wouldn't have really been what I wanted to do. I really wanted to do the artistic side of cakes. Then I worked as an air hostess after school for a bit, just because I wanted to bridge over the time until I could make up my mind what I really wanted to do. And I kept baking for colleagues.
You were popular.
Yeah, very popular. So I was probably very often on the request list for, crew request lists and so on. But basically I made a wedding cake for a couple of my friends, colleagues of mine, and they said, you just have to do this, it's a calling, and you're really good at it. I mean, it was nothing like what I do now, but it gave me that final push to really decide to leave my job and really do this as a career. And through traveling, I visited London and New York, and I've noticed that the English-speaking countries are much more into cake decorating. There's like a proper scene happening. So I researched a cookery school in New York and one in London, and London was the easier option at the time, so I went for London. Which was great, It was hard, but really a cool time. I was 23, so it was the right time to go.
Yes.
It was very exciting. I had lots of energy. I worked day and night, but I learned so much. And my plan was to just go and learn for 2 years and go back to Germany and maybe start my own cafe or my own business. But one thing led to another, and there was so much more to learn. I couldn't cut, but possibly in 2 years. And I ended up working at a catering company called Rubber Food Design, where I met my husband. A Kiwi, and he didn't really like the idea of moving to Germany very much. He said London is much cooler. And together we kind of, I started the company first, but it was just coincidence. I was recommended to make some chocolate Fabergé eggs for an Elton John job through the catering company I was working for.
That's not a usual request,
No,
is
not
it?
really, and I was really lucky. I mean, I would have never had the courage to put myself forward, but it was actually my husband who said, I think Peggy might be able to do something, you know, and that's how it all started. Soon after, the same organizers organized Stella McCartney's wedding, and then asked me if I could make a wedding cake, and it was really two great names as sort of a stepping stone into the industry. Then I started baking, developing our own sort of wedding cake collections, and then I met my publisher through a Christmas fair by chance, who asked me if I wanted to do a cake book, and which really was a very amazing opportunity. I never saw this coming so early, and what I realized then is that I really, in order to make a difference on the market, the cake books back then were a little bit old-fashioned and not much was there, really more novelty books rather than cake books. And so I really took 6 months out. I wanted to develop my own style and my own designs before I really wrote about cake making. And then Pretty Party Cakes was the first.
Which is beautiful.
Thank you.
How would you just describe your style? I know how I would describe your style, but how would you describe it?
I would describe it as very pretty and feminine, girly but not kitsch, I hope. A little bit sort of a touch of elegance and fashion is in there as well. I take a lot of inspiration from the world of fashion. Or interior, sort of, trends that are happening. I buy loads and loads of interior magazines, and I love wallpapers and fabrics, jewelry, all those kind of things. And basically, anytime I see something really beautiful, I take a picture or take a tear sheet or a sample or something, and I have this box at home where I just keep collecting stuff like that. And sometimes it just pops back into my head when I think about a new design, and then I sort of sketch and come up with new ideas.
Do you use sites like Pinterest?
It's so new to me. I've only heard about it recently.
I know, it's really exploded.
Yeah, it really has. And I didn't realize it was out there. And I really have to look into it now.
Yeah, because I think it's sort of like the similar concept, but you just do it all on the internet.
Yeah. I must say, I have to admit, I'm not a techie at all. And I haven't even, I know I've got a really good Facebook following and stuff, but I really haven't, I'm not very clued up about using Facebook properly. So I have a bit of help there.
Well, I think once you start on Pinterest, you'll probably get a bit addicted.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
So you've got your own style. Is there anything that you wouldn't or just wouldn't be interested in making or doing?
At the moment, I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of novelty. I admire beautiful novelty cakes, and I think it's a real art form. It hasn't caught me as a sort of, I haven't gotten addicted or hooked on it yet. But I very recently have visited a demonstration by Carlo Fischetti at the Squires exhibition in London, and just watching him, how he so easily shapes figurines, things like arms and hands and visual expressions was so fascinating that I really feel he may have gotten me hooked on something there. What I feel with my cakes in general is that usually my current book or my current collection kind of is a reflection of myself, at what stage I am in my life. Like my first book was very girly and colourful and bright, and I was in my mid-20s then. I was just full of life and excitement for everything. Then it progressed into something a bit more elegant and sophisticated as I was sort of approaching our own wedding.
Yes.
And so I haven't got kids yet, and I always wonder, maybe by the time I have kids, I might start getting into novelty.
All those animals and things like that.
I think it's sort of life around you that inspires you. And so at the moment I'm very much into beautiful, elegant, fashionable things. I love flowers. My mum used to be a florist, and my dad is a passionate gardener. So my cakes are very floral, and I think it's the most beautiful way of decorating a cake.
What cake would you say you're most proud of that you've made?
Currently, it keeps changing, but currently I think my Floral Avalanche is the sort of crown piece of that has been done recently. I can't tell you how many flowers are on it, but each of the large roses has sort of 45 petals each, and so it's very, very intricate. I try to make sure to make them look as realistic as possible, and it's been very popular. But I'm already thinking about the next collection, so I think I will include a lot of pipe work. Piping is something which is another skill I really love, and unfortunately a lot of people are a bit scared of.
I am too.
And I know it's all about practice, but it is absolutely doable. So I think I might do a little bit more on the piping side with the next one, but we'll see.
Is there, do you always, with your visions and what you design, does it always turn out the way that you want it to?
I have to say most of the time, but I think it's because I usually sketch quite detailed, and that helps me visualizing it better. The one thing is maybe sometimes hard to really visualize how it works out in the end are more proportions and sizes. You usually tend to sketch things that may be a little bit smaller or shorter than they actually will turn out, but I think as long as you stay flexible and can adapt your design, it's absolutely fine.
And do you do, because you've got the academy, you've got several aspects to the business, what do you enjoy the most?
Ooh, it's tricky. I think everyone out of the three has got its own, what should I say, my favorite thing. I think with the academy, what I really enjoy is it brought me back to where I started. I can exchange myself with like-minded people, and it's a really good way for me to get inspired through others again, because it can become you can sort of get trapped in your own bubble if you just do your own cakes on, and you tend to repeat yourself. So it really helps me to sort of, they're talking about new websites or about new tools, and it just keeps me involved. Sorry, which is great. My parlor, which is the latest edition, is a cake shop, a cafe. What I really love there is that I finally have this opportunity to sell my cakes to the public on a daily basis. Before it was on an appointment-only basis, quite expensive and exclusive, so I only saw clients every once in a while, really. It's really great to get the feedback if people like the taste of things, the look of things, and I'm sitting in my own little cake empire, and I'm like, ooh, this is really pretty, and it's all mine, it's great. And the bespoke side, what I really like is just being able to create and push boundaries, to challenge myself, and also Bryce challenged me. They come with ideas on their own, which I have to then translate into a cake. And that's amazing. And the other thing is it's also a happy occasion. So usually, if everything goes well, you get really good feedback, and it just keeps making you go further, really.
Do you like to see their reactions? Like, do you like to be around when they see their cake?
Well, no, usually I'm not, I have to say, because it's, unless I'm invited myself, but you go there so early to set up, and it's a bit sad because there's so much action going around in the venue that you don't see the beautiful room, and it's always sort of finished. But what I really love is when they send pictures of them cutting the cake. I mean, that's really amazing, because you want to see their smile, you want to see how the dress looks next to the cake if it was inspired by the dress, for example. And that's, a little card or something is always the most beautiful thing to keep, because I keep those. I never throw them away, and I just sometimes hang them up and stuff. It's really nice to look back to.
And because I've seen, I haven't actually tried one of your cakes yet, because it's been quite a few years since I visited London, but I know that you take a lot of care with the actual flavours.
Yeah.
So it's not just a standard sort of, you've got several flavours that you
take.
take.
I do. I think it's because my German background, different cakes, textures and flavours and fillings are fairly normal where I come from. And when I came to the UK, a fruit cake was the standard. And of course, there are good fruit cakes and bad fruit cakes. But overall, there was such a trend. England in general had a thing in the outside world, a fairly bad name for their food. But I think in the sort of late 90s or early in the 20th century, it had such a sort of push in the international food world. England has become so foodie, and all celebrity chefs, these days. I think England has more Michelin stars, or sort of top Michelin stars, than other countries, as far as I know. So taste is really important, and brides have become much more demanding. And that's the reason why I trained as a pastry chef first before I specialized in cake decorating. I really wanted to have the basics and foundations right before I specialized in decorating. I find a lot of, through my students and people that I meet, there are a lot of good decorators out there, but bakers, baking is something people still haven't really understood completely, or many people don't. And it's really easy. It's not that scary as people might think. So I think it's just good to create more interest in it, I think.
What's your favourite current flavour that you've
well, it's been for a while. What we've done since we have our parlour is a tipsy orange truffle, which is an orange sponge soaked with Cointreau syrup. is layered with an orange and contour marmalade and a dark chocolate ganache. So it's a grown-up Jaffa cake version. It's really scrumptious and moist, aromatic as well. But it really depends. In summer, I love lemon cake. We have a luscious lemon with limoncello. I love adding liqueurs, but very subtly.
Yeah.
But I think it just gives that sort of little bit of extra flavour to a cake.
And what was your wedding cake like?
My wedding cake. It's funny. I always imagined years before I was planning my wedding, that I would have a really colourful cake, or at least pastel or pink in some way. But it ended up being white and ivory. But very, very elegant, I think. We took inspiration from our invitations. We had beautiful butterfly and scroll laser cut design. So we used that as a piped design to go around the sides of the cake. And I had white avalanche roses and stephanotis flowers and a sash around one of the tiers, which is it reflected my bouquet that I was carrying as well. And flavour, I plan to do just a very basic Victoria sponge because I really love fresh raspberries and vanilla. But my husband forgot to take the jam I wanted to use to Germany. We got married in Germany. So I had to go to my mom's larder, and she had a really delicious blueberry filling. So it turned out to be a vanilla and blueberry cake, which was also really nice.
So you don't have to do with wedding cakes, because the school of thought is you have to use really thick, sort of solid cakes like mugs. And
you know, funny, I've noticed that here in Australia, that's what you guys do, and also your tiers are much, much taller. I mean, you can actually see here, your tiers are about this tall. It seems to be an average.
Yeah.
Ours are just about this tall, so it's about 10 centimeters, where yours are 15 or 20. And also another thing, we use marzipan and sugar paste to cover it. So we've got about this much icing to protect and to hold it sort of in, keep it stable. So I think that's why we can play with it a little bit more.
So we could do the same if we used
I think you could, but you've got a very warm and humid climate. So I think what you do, you're doing it really well. I think what you will need to do is really change, how would you say, educate your customers to liking marzipan. And I think that's, I don't know, I love marzipan, but some people don't. It might be tricky to do that. Don't know. I'm going home with a lot of little tricks that I've learned from how you guys do things. You get these beautiful sharp edges here. Ours are slightly more rounded because we have 2 layers of icing, you see. It's very difficult to get them perfectly sharp, and our sponges are softer. But I've learned a few tricks on how to get it sharp, and I think I will try it home.
Oh, cool. So how do you find, because, obviously what you do is quite artistic, or very artistic. How do you find the business side of it, which is a different sort of mindset?
Yes, I find this has always been the sort of most challenging part of it, because I never trained or had special training in business. But what has helped me a lot is that my husband joined the company. He's a trained chef, but he's got a very good natural understanding of business. And he's always kept a good eye on things. His standard line is, Peggy buys all the pretty things and I figure out how to pay for them. It's changed a bit since, it's progressed much further, but he's helping me on that end so that I can keep my head quite free on creativity and training the staff and building up the team, which is another really difficult thing. When you try to expand and grow, finding talented people who can do what you can do to the same standard is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So now I'm really lucky. I think we have a really good team now, but it took me a few years to really get there.
Was it training them to the standard that you wanted?
Training them, but also maintaining, how would you say, I just had a bespoke company before, and the wedding season in England is very short. It's just from sort of May till about September, so you were very busy in summer, but there wasn't enough work for an entire team throughout winter. So that has been a very difficult thing. So we had a lot of seasonal contracts, and it was really a shame that quite often you had to let really good people go, and then the next year you train them up again, so you start all over from zero. So it's been a challenge, but with the addition of our parlor, the cake shop, we have a steady production now, and that makes it very easy for us.
So what do you do on your do you have any time off, or do you...
It's getting better. I think some of our staff still don't take enough time off. I guess it's still very too much, and letting go is the hardest thing to do. But right now we're having, after this week, a 3-week holiday in New Zealand, which I really look forward to.
Oh, wow. And do you do sports, or do you sort of...
Yeah, unfortunately not enough. Do a bit of, be outside and walk a lot, but not like you guys. I mean,
don't worry, I don't do that.
I guess kneading dough and all that, it's my, carrying heavy cakes, that's sort of my sport, I guess.
And what do you see as the trends for 2012 for cakes?
I don't know. I mean, sort of don't really follow trends as much, or they progress much slower because, at the time you're getting married, you're only looking at wedding trends for 6 months in the entire sort of planning time, really. So usually they tend to be quite traditional and classic. But what we have noticed is a trend towards Art Deco will be coming through, I think, because of all the sort of movies that are coming out, and fashion, actually. If you look at, I think I noticed the new Gucci and Prada collections, they are very sort of Art Deco and Ralph Lauren. So there's definitely a trend. I think overall vintage glamour still maintains. And there's also a bit of a trend to people more and more keen on great taste. So it's a bit of influence from the French side, macaroons, a little bit of combining sweet tables with cakes as well. But it really depends on what designers come up with. And hopefully we're able to influence and set a new trend very soon again. So we'll see what happens, really.
Do you find that when it goes on the catwalk, it's quite quick to make itself sort of reflected in the cake world?
It depends. I think fashion magazines are very quick, don't they? They have only sort of on monthly basis, or wedding magazines are sort of bi-monthly or quarterly, so it takes a bit longer to filter through. And I think wedding cakes look more at wedding dress designs and trends. There is definitely a tendency to filter through, but overall I think it just takes a few months longer.
And what tips do you have for people that want to be like Peggy Porschen?
Don't. Don't do it, hard work, no, don't. What tips do I have? Maybe the thing is, all the people I meet, no matter if it's in Australia or in England, we all do it for the love of baking and cake making, really. And none of us have a real clear plan of where we're going to go with it. I think maybe try, if you can, do some internships so that you can get some experience of the real world of cake making. Because when you do it for business, it very quickly becomes very hard labor, and you have lots of nights where you work away after midnight and weekends. So you want to really be sure that you're physically up for it, mentally, but also that your family is able to deal with it and supports you. It's very important. And otherwise I think do sort of your groundwork, good basic training. Don't forget about the baking, it's very important, and do some sort of basic business foundation, or do your sort of research there as well, because making money on cakes is very difficult, and knowing what to charge. There's no golden rule or an answer, this is how much a cake should cost, because it depends on so many factors. So research your market and see where you can make a difference,
What did you think of the royal wedding cake?
Of what?
The royal wedding cake.
Oh, I thought it actually turned out really lovely. Yeah. I think, actually, the design, I expected it to be much more traditional than it turned out. So I was pleasantly surprised how sort of modern, and I thought actually the influence seemed to me quite... Is it finished?
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought the wedding cake was influenced by a bit of an American style as well, which is sort of really lovely. So I think if I would have been asked to do it, I think I would have come up with something completely different, but I thought it was really lovely, yeah.
And where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Probably, I don't know, at a beach in New Zealand or Australia, hopefully. I don't know, I certainly want to take my brand more towards, basically, I started as a person and as a name in cakes, but I want to take it more to turn it into a brand that is more recognized as a lifestyle and baking brand, really, and cake decorating, of course. But I just want to take it to the next level. I think we've already started with our parlor and the academy, but we're just looking into a few products that we are developing and see where it goes. I think there's so much there are so many possibilities, and I'll just stay open-minded and see what comes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.